Hello, my name is Yuna Choi, and I am an elementary school teacher in Kensington, Maryland. I just finished my third year teaching in first grade, third grade, and second grade. This upcoming school year, I will be going back to third grade. I also just started my graduate studies at UMUC in instructional technology. I will be sharing my findings and experiences on our data action plan that my team and I have been working on throughout this semester. According to Venables, How Teachers Can Turn Data into Action, the Data Action Plan is a systematic process for reviewing and responding to data. It helps identify and prioritize goals in order to help close the achievement gaps through data. It requires 5 different data meetings with the team to collaborate and discuss how we can help increase student achievement. In data meeting number 1, my team and I were required to come to the meeting with our own set of micro or macro data. I came to my team with macro data on a reading assessment that students take in the primary grades. That test is called the M-Class test. This is a test of reading, oral, and written comprehension questions as they progress throughout the year. We looked at our data and came up with notice and wonder questions about each of our data. Then, individually looking at our own data, came up with exploratory questions that could give us a more deeper understanding of how we can increase student achievement. We then moved on to data meeting number 2. Each of us were again required to come up with more data that related to data meeting number 1. I brought microdata this time and related to oral and written reading comprehension. I saw that in my M-Class data, a lot of students were not passing benchmark reading levels because their written comprehension was holding them back. With my data meeting number 2 data, it showed that students being assessed orally were performing higher than assessment in writing. Once each one of us shared our data for data meeting number 2, as a team we had to decide whose data we wanted to focus on for the rest of the data action plan. Hannah and I both brought M-Class data, so we decided to focus on Colleen's macro math data she collected. Her third grade class takes a standardized test called the MAP-M, which focuses on math they take on their Chromebooks at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. We were required to fill out an artifact tracking sheet with Colleen's data. Colleen had brought from her classroom a couple of artifacts we could use for our tracking sheet. With each artifact, we had to figure out whether or not it was an observed learning gap or an observed instructional gap. Then, for each artifact, we ranked them of their relative significance and their prominence. Through data meeting number 2, we found out the artifacts related to multiplication and division word problems, the relationship between addition and subtraction, and area were the most significant for Colleen's class. We then moved on to data meeting number 3. We were able to easily rank the significance of her artifacts, that we were able to complete the following chart in order to help us come up with implementation tips to lower the achievement gaps. We were also able to find research to help us discuss how we can increase student achievement. For example, multiplication and division word problems, we came up with the implementation tip to give students word problems with numbers they are most familiar with and comfortable with multiplying and dividing. If students are not comfortable with the numbers they are solving with, then they will definitely not be able to solve the problems accurately. The second table of data meeting number 3 helped us focus on the 3 highest ranking significant artifacts from Colleen's data. With each instruction associated learning gap, we were able to come up with SMART goals to help close the achievement gaps. Again, we focused on multiplication and division word problems, and we came up with the SMART goal. By the end of the year, at least 70% of students will be able to identify the operation of multiplication or division in equations with at least 75% accuracy in identifying the operation and at least 75% in solving the equation. Then we came up with a method of how students can be assessed and how frequently to assess them to see if we are achieving our SMART goals. Dating meeting number 4 was extremely helpful with the conclusion of the data action plan. We completed together the action plan tracking sheet. We chose to focus on one goal to complete the action plan tracking sheet on, which was multiplication and division word problems. We discussed that a major part of third grade is spent on learning, practicing, and memorizing multiplication and division facts. It was very important aspect of our data action plan as a whole. We came up together with a number of instructional tactics that we could use in the classroom. I really learned a lot from completing the action plan tracking sheet as I got ready to go back to teaching third grade. It really gave me tips and understandings of what tactics and goals I could use and reach in my classroom when it came to math in third grade. This data action plan really got me reflecting when I taught third grade 2 years ago and gave me an opportunity to learn and prepare myself for this coming school year. For data meeting number 5, I learned so much through my new partner. Because we took this course over the summer, we were not able to complete our last requirement for data meeting number 5 to implement our instructional tactics in our own classroom. So instead, we were given new partners and we were able to share, reflect, and analyze each other's team's data action plans. It was so insightful to see how different teams collaborated and what different data they used. My new teammate, Anne's group, focused on data off of language. It was interesting to see other data besides math. My partner gave a lot of feedback of what we can add to our action plan tracking sheet. She suggested that we could incorporate technology into some of our verifying artifacts. For example, the instructional tactic that we could incorporate technology into was where students would be able to create their own word problems and solve with partners. Anne suggested that students could use a program called Seesaw or Explain Everything in order to record themselves with a voice recorder and send their word problems to a partner to solve. I thought that was a great idea because MCPS is providing more and more ways to incorporate technology in our classrooms. Going back to third grade next year really allows me to be able to utilize technology into my classroom into so many more ways. Not only do students get their own individual Chromebook to use throughout the school year, but that also allows me to be able to assign assignments and projects through technology, which would help the teachers and students become more familiar with our technological advanced world. Another piece of advice Anne provided for my group was our instructional tactic of practicing the relationship between multiplication and division through fact families. Was to have students complete the assignment independently during math rotations, but to have students then check their work with a partner to be able to foster discussions of where they had trouble with and an opportunity for them to learn from each other. It was a great idea to allow students to collaborate and work together in a classroom. I would say that an area of strength that I realized throughout the process of the data action plan was to be able to collaborate and work together as a group. Working together with members through an online course helped me to learn about so many different pieces of technology that made our work much easier to do. I could definitely use ways we collaborated to use with not only my students, but to be able to communicate with others outside of my homeschool. I hope to be able to get out of my comfort zone after taking this course and to be able to share what I have learned about creating and following through with a data action plan with my teammates this coming school year. I hope to be able to use what I learned and pass it along to my hardworking teammates. This data action plan really opened my eyes to see how I can identify learning gaps and help my students. The data action plan allows teachers to help close the learning gaps for our students, and it also allows us to reflect on our teaching to help our students in any way that we can. Teaching is so important to our students, and our students are our future. So it is so important for teachers to do whatever they can to help our students. Thank you.